Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling one of those huge questions, maybe the biggest one. Why are we here? What's the point of it all?
It's the ultimate question, isn't it? Echoes down through history, across every culture, this deep desire for meaning.
Exactly. And what we want to do today is give you a bit of a shortcut maybe to getting informed on this. We're diving into some really profound insights.
Yeah, specifically from Ahmed Fahmi's work, Divine Creation, 3 mystical views. It brings together 3 incredible Sufi thinkers.
Right. First up, there's Bawa Muhaiyaddeen. He's more contemporary, from Sri Lanka. Very direct, sort of experiential teachings about surrender to the one God.
Then we have Muhyiddin Ibn Arabi, a giant for the 13th century Andalusian scene. They call him Al-Sheikh Al-Akbar.
The greatest master.
The greatest master, exactly. His metaphysics are intricate, incredibly influential in Islamic thought.
And finally, Jalal al-Din al-Rumi, the 13th century Persian poet. Everyone knows Rumi, right? Those amazing verses about divine love really sparked by meeting Shamsi Tabrizi.
Absolutely. And the fascinating thing is, you've got Bawa's direct guidance, Ibn Arabi's complex system, Rumi's, passionate poetry.
Very different voices.
Totally different, but they keep circling back to these common themes. Divine love, God revealing himself, mercy, our unique place in it all, the soul's journey.
So this deep dive should give you, hopefully, both some intellectual grounding and maybe a feel for how transformative these ideas can be if you're pondering, existence.
That's the aim.
Okay, so let's unpack this central idea. According to these masters, what's the fundamental reason? The divine motive for creating, everything.
Well, what's really striking is how they converge on this core idea. It seems to stem from a divine love, or maybe a fundamental desire. A desire to be known.
To be known.
Yeah, there's this famous hadith Qudsi, a sacred saying from God, which puts it beautifully. I was a hidden treasure and I loved, or some say desired, to be known, so I created the creation that I might be known. That's like a bedrock for them.
Wow. I was a hidden treasure. That's powerful. So how do they each build on that? Let's start with Ibn Arabi, the metaphysician. How does he see this hidden treasure?
Okay, so for Ibn Arabi, that hidden treasure is God in his unmanifest state. Totally beyond our grasp. And the love, it's not like God needed anything, he's complete.
Right.
It's more like an expression of his inherent generosity. Judd, he calls it, this primordial impulse for existence. And this love, this generosity was directed towards what he calls ayin thabata.
Ayin thabata, immutable entities. What are those exactly?
Think of them like eternal potentials.
Yeah.
Divine ideas or archetypes existing only in God's knowledge. And the love was to bring them into actual existence.
Why? What was the purpose of bringing them out?
So his names and attributes like the creator, the merciful, the knower could be displayed, manifested. And so he could, in a way, see his own essence reflected back through creation. The universe becomes this grand stage, a theater for God's self-disclosure.
Huh. So these immutable entities, they're like the divine potential for everything, waiting in the wings.
Exactly. The fixed essences, just waiting for the call to be.
And Rumi, the poet of love, how does he capture this? Is it similar?
For Rumi, it's all about that loving to be known. That's the key. Ish divine love isn't just a feeling for him, it's the ontological principle, the fundamental reason the universe exists.
The reason?
Yes. He literally says love is the reason for the creation of universe, and all creatures have been created just because of love. It's the lifeblood, this transformative, almost alchemical force.
Love is the fabric of reality itself. That's quite an image. And Bawa Muhaiyaddeen, does he echo this, maybe in a different way?
He absolutely does. He might not quote that specific hadith as often, but his whole emphasis fits perfectly. He stresses that humanity was given wisdom, our unique faculty, specifically to know God and understand him.
So the knowing is key for him too.
Right. And to realize and understand this treasure of truth. That is why we have come to the world. It strongly links our very existence back to this divine desire for connection, for recognition.
So if we boil it down, what's the big takeaway here for us? It's not that God was lonely or lacking something.
No, not at all. It suggests creation is this act of sheer abundance, an overflow of divine generosity and love. It's not about deficiency, it's about richness wanting to express itself.
An outpouring.
Precisely, an outpouring of infinite potential.
Okay, so if creation comes from this desire to be known, this outpouring, how do they see the universe itself? Is it just the result, or is it more involved in God's self-revelation?
Oh, it's intimately involved.
Yeah.
All 3 see creation as a form of divine self-manifestation. Revelation. The term they often use is Tajalli.
Tajalli, self-revelation.
Yeah, it's not just something God made, it's how God shows himself, both to us and maybe even in a sense to himself through the mirror of existence.
It's quite a concept. Now, Ibn Arabi is famous for Wadata al-Wujud, the oneness of being. How does that fit with this idea of Tajalli?
It's completely intertwined. For Ibn Arabi, Wadata al-Wujud means there's ultimately only one being, God. Everything else, the entire universe, is a manifestation, an appearance of that singular being.
So we're not truly separate.
In essence, no. He says, everything in this world is merely a manifestation or appearance of God, but in essence, only God truly exists. Creatures are like reflections in a mirror, or maybe waves on the ocean. The multiplicity we see, all the different forms and beings, that's the theophany.
Theophany, God showing himself.
Exactly. It's the divine self-revelation of his names and attributes, the essence itself, transcendent beyond us. But its qualities, mercy, power, beauty, knowledge, they become visible in creation.
You mentioned those divine names earlier, like Al-Khaliq, the creator. You said they seek to manifest. How does that work?
Ibn Arabi sees these names as having this inherent dynamism, kind of internal pressure or seeking to express their particular quality. Think about it. How can the creator truly express creatorship without creation?
Right. It needs something to create.
Exactly. Or the provider needs beings to provide for.
Yeah.
If there was no creation, these names would just remain latent, potential. So creation becomes the necessary arena for these names to fully express themselves.
And he has that amazing image, the breath of the all-merciful. Nafas al-Rahman. What's that about?
Ah, yes. That's his description of the fundamental creative principle. He pictures it as this divine exhalation, almost like a sigh of relief.
Relief.
Relief for the divine names that were sort of pent up, yearning to express their qualities. And this breath, which is mercy itself, forms the very substance, the primordial cloud, or al-Ama, from which all created forms are articulated.
Wow. So the very substance of reality is mercy.
According to Ibn Arabi, yes. It's a profound vision of compassion being the absolute ground of being.
And this creation, this exhalation, it wasn't just a one-time thing, was it? I remember reading about Ibn Arabi and perpetual renewal.
Spot on. He calls it tajdid al-khalq ma'alanat, perpetual renewal of creation with each instant. For him, creation isn't something that happened way back then. It's happening right now, continuously.
Every single moment.
Every single moment. God's self-disclosure, he says, never repeats itself. Each instant is a fresh, unique manifestation. The world is constantly being dissolved and reformed. So reality isn't static at all. It's this ever-new unfolding of divine possibilities, a constant flickering in and out of existence sustained by that merciful breath.
That's mind-bending, a universe constantly reborn. Rumi also uses that mirror metaphor, doesn't he, for creation?
He does, very powerfully. For Rumi, the whole universe, but especially the purified human heart, acts as a mirror. What does it reflect? God's infinite beauty, his attributes.
So existence is the mirror.
Yes. He says existence is a mirror in which God is constantly manifesting. And the world was created precisely to reflect his characteristics as a great mirror.
And Bawa Muhaiyaddeen, he talks about creation as God's story.
That's his angle, yes. God's story, his history. And when you look at it with true wisdom, what do you see? Only him. His power, his qualities revealed to the narrative of creations. Different metaphors, but the same core idea. The universe as a revelation.
Okay, this is fascinating. The universe as God's self-revelation, constantly unfolding. So, where do we fit in? If the whole cosmos is the stage, what's our specific role? Surely we're more than just scenery.
Much more. That's a key point they all stress. Humanity has this unique, pivotal role. We're meant to be the conscious realizers of this whole divine purpose, the reflectors.
The conscious part seems important.
Crucial. We're not just reflecting passively. We're meant to know we're reflecting and to actively participate in that reflection.
Now, Ibn Arabi has that concept you mentioned, Al-Insan al-Kamil, the perfect human. How does that define our place?
For Ibn Arabi, this isn't just about, say, prophets or saints, though they embody it. Al-Insan al-Kamil represents the potential within all humanity. It's the microcosm that contains the macrocosm.
Meaning
the perfect human is the comprehensive summary of all realities, both divine and created. In fact, Ibn Arabi says the perfect human is the ultimate purpose and goal of creation.
the goal of creation.
In our perfected state, yes, because humanity is created in God's form, meaning we have the unique capacity to reflect all the divine names and attributes simultaneously. The rest of the cosmos reflects certain aspects, but only the perfected human spirit can be the complete mirror.
So without us, the mirror isn't complete.
It's like an unpolished mirror, he says. The human spirit provides the polish, the principle of reflection. He also calls the perfect human the barzakh.
An isthmus, a bridge.
Exactly. Bridge between God and creation. The channel through which divine grace flows down and through which creation finds its ultimate meaning and return path. So yeah, it's a huge role, not just part of creation, but arguably the very point of it, the consciousness that allows God's reflection to be fully realized.
Wow, that's a lot to take in. Humanity is the point of it all. What about Bawa Muhaiyaddeen? How does he describe our unique essence and purpose?
Bawa focuses on the soul, the ruh. He calls it a direct emanation from God, a ray of light that came from God, pure, a shadowless soul.
Ray of light.
And he says we are uniquely created with the faculty of wisdom, why? Specifically to know God and understand him. And crucially, to use that wisdom to trace himself back to his origin, Allah. So our unique gift, wisdom, is directly tied to our purpose of knowing and returning to our source.
Wisdom as the tool for return, okay. And Rumi, what does he emphasize for our role?
Rumi calls on us to become manifest, to realize our true essential self. And what is that essential self? It's a reflection of the divine. He constantly echoes that, saying, "Whoso knoweth himself knoweth God."
Self-knowledge leads to God knowledge.
Precisely. Our unique role is to undertake that inner journey of discovery, to polish the mirror of the heart so that the divine reflection within can shine forth, to consciously be that reflection.
Okay, so we have this special role, this potential. But what's the path? How are we actually meant to live this out? What's the journey supposed to look like, according to these masters?
Well, the idea of a journey, a path of return or realization, is absolutely central for all three. Life isn't just random, it's a purposeful pilgrimage back to the source.
When you say Rumi, I immediately think of that image, the reed flute crying. How does that capture the journey?
It's perhaps his most famous metaphor for the soul's condition. The reed flute, you see, has been cut from the reed bed, its origin.
Separated.
And so it cries out with this deep, innate longing shock for a reunion with the beloved, with its source, that ache, that yearning. That's the engine driving the spiritual path.
The sacred ache.
Exactly. Rumi says our purpose is to recognize that inner cry, that feeling of separation, and consciously embark on the journey home. Mm-hmm. And the destination. Fana. Annihilation of the limited false self, the ego, and the divine reality. Rumi asks, when a person's I is negated, then what remains? The answer is the divine, the true self. And the Sima, the whirling dance of the dervishes.
That symbolizes the journey.
Yes, powerfully. It symbolizes turning away from the multiplicity of the world towards the unity of God, moving from separation towards union. It's a physical embodiment of that inner journey of return.
That longing, that shock, feels like a really powerful motivator. Now, for Bawa Muhaiyaddeen, what's the essence of this return journey?
For Bawa, it boils down to surrender. Surrender to the one God, Allah, and consciously tracing yourself back to that origin. He says the purpose of our life here on earth is to discover this inner unchanging reality, the soul, and unify with it, thereby understanding the ultimate truth.
How do we do that, according to him?
It requires a conscious effort. Turning your attention away from the distractions and illusions of the world, focusing inward and actively cultivating divine qualities within yourself. Patience, compassion, truthfulness, wisdom. Purifying the heart through surrender.
And Ibn Arabi, his path leads towards Marifa, right?
Yeah.
Gnosis.
Exactly. For Ibn Arabi, the ultimate spiritual goal isn't just belief, it's Marifa, direct experiential knowledge. Gnosis.
Knowledge of what?
Knowledge of the fundamental oneness of being, wadat al-wujud. The journey is about piercing through the veils of multiplicity, seeing past the apparent separateness of things, to witness the singular divine reality that underlies and manifests as everything. It's an intellectual and experiential realization of unity.
Seeing the one in the many.
And the many as expressions of the one. That's the goal of the journey for Ibn Arabi.
This brings up something important, I think. We've talked about love, knowledge, manifestation, but what's the underlying quality of the divine intention driving all this? Is it just about being known, or is there something more like compassion involved?
Oh, absolutely crucial. All three mystics deeply emphasize divine mercy, Rama, or compassion, as fundamental to the entire process of creation. It's not an afterthought. It's woven into the very fabric.
Mercy as foundational. That seems different from just an attribute God has. How does Ibn Arabi explain this?
For Ibn Arabi, Rama is more than just one attribute among others. It is the fundamental creative principle, the sustaining force of everything. Remember the Nafas al-Rahman, the breath of the All-Merciful.
Right. The very substance of creation.
Exactly. Mercy is that substance. He makes this astonishing statement. The world was originated from absolute mercy, and to mercy it shall return. So for him, the very act of existing is to be immersed in God's mercy. Even things that appear negative or painful are, from the ultimate perspective, contained within this all-encompassing Rama.
Just being here is an act of mercy. That's profound. How does Bawa Muhaiyaddeen connect this idea of mercy to our lives? Does he make it practical?
Very much so. Bawa directly links this metaphysical understanding to ethics, to how we should act. He says God created man from a tiny ray and made him large so that he can give peace, comfort, and love to all lives.
So our purpose is tied to giving that mercy back.
Precisely. Our purpose is rooted in active service, in benevolence. He states clearly, man was created to feed those who are hungry and to help those who have sorrow, illness, and suffering. To be a true Sufi, in Bawa's view, is to actively embody God's compassionate and protective qualities towards all creation. He even extended this to vegetarianism as a tangible expression of compassion.
That's a very clear call to action based on this divine principle. And Rumi's great theme, Ishq, divine love, is that inherently merciful too?
Absolutely, yes. Rumi's Ishq is intrinsically merciful. He describes it as this incredible transformative power. Love is what turns bitter things into sweet. It turns pieces of copper into gold. It turns pains into healing.
So love itself is the healing, merciful force.
Yes. It's the magnetic force drawing all beings back to their source, back to the beloved. And that drawing power itself is an act of immense tenderness and mercy, seeking to heal the wounds of separation and bring everything back into the embrace of unity.
It's amazing how, while they're hitting these same huge themes, love, mercy, knowing, return, each master really does have their own distinct voice, their own melody, maybe.
That's a great way to put it. They definitely harmonize, but each has a unique melody. They complement each other beautifully.
So let's touch on those unique melodies. Bawa Muhaiyaddeen, what's his distinctive emphasis?
Bawa is known for his directness, his practical focus. It's less about complex cosmology and more about the immediate path. He really emphasizes inner purification, cultivating those 7 levels of wisdom he talks about.
Wisdom again.
Yes. And crucially, living a life of compassion and service is the direct fulfillment of our purpose for him. It's about correcting your own mistakes, polishing your own conduct, and surrendering your heart completely to God. Very grounded, very focused on ethical action now.
Practical spirituality. Okay. And Ibn Arabi, the greatest master, what's his unique contribution, his special flavor?
Ibn Arabi is the grand architect. The sheer scale and detail of his metaphysical system are just breathtaking. Wada al-Wujud, the intricate workings of the Shine names and attributes as these dynamic forces shaping reality.
The big picture.
Exactly, the really big picture. And his development of Al-Insan al-Kamil, the perfect human, not just as an ideal, but as this central cosmic principle.
Yeah.
The reason for creation, the preserver of the cosmos, plus those profound concepts like the breath of the all-merciful and perpetual creation. His work really appeals if you're seeking a deep, systematic, intellectual understanding of how reality is structured.
A cosmic map, almost. And then Rumi, the poet, what's his unique fire?
Rumi's genius is expressing these profound mysteries through the overwhelming power and beauty of Ishq, divine love. His unique voice is that of the soul in passionate, ecstatic motion.
The yearning.
Yes, the pathos of separation, the reed flute's cry, that intense, ecstatic yearning for reunion with the beloved. That's his signature. For him, the heart is the main arena. Polishing the heart mirror is the core practice. It's less systematic metaphysics, more the transformative fire of love that burns away everything else and leads directly to union. His appeal is deeply devotional, ecstatic. 3
incredible complementary perspectives. So let's bring it home. After exploring all this, what does it actually mean for you listening right now in your day-to-day life? How can these ideas actually guide our journey? It can't just stay theoretical, right?
Absolutely not. These teachings aren't just intellectual exercises. They're really an invitation to a whole different way of living, a way that could radically reorient your values, your actions, how you see everything.
How so?
Well, for starters, if a core reason we're here is for the divine to be known, then life itself becomes like a classroom, a curriculum for sacred knowing, you could say. It implies we should always be learning not just facts, but learning about ourselves, about the deeper reality behind things, about our connection to the divine. Remember Ibn Arabi saying our purpose is to know the attributes and bring them into actualization.
So learning and then living those qualities.
Exactly. And that requires real inner work, doesn't it? Sincere self-reflection, purification, Bawa tells us to correct their own mistakes, to surrender their hearts. Rumi talks about polishing the rust of ego off the heart mirror.
It sounds like a constant process.
It is, actively working to lessen the grip of the ego, letting go of excessive worldly attachments, and instead consciously cultivating those divine qualities within ourselves. Wisdom, love, patience, humility, and especially mercy.
And then crucially, embodying that, taking it out into the world.
Yes, that seems to be the vital link. If creation itself is fundamentally an act of divine love and overflowing mercy, then surely our lives are meant to mirror that. Bawa's call to give peace, comfort, and love to all lives connects directly back to Ibn Arabi's Rahma and Rumi's Ishq.
So it means treating everyone, maybe everything, with that same spirit.
That seems to be the implication. Treating all of creation, people, animals, the environment with reverence, with compassion, with justice, because that's all part of that divine self-manifestation. So the answer to why are we here isn't just a piece of information you get. It becomes this ongoing, lived experience, a call to align your own little existence with that grand divine intention.
It's really quite something, isn't it? How these three figures, separated by time and space and style, all point towards such similar yet uniquely shaded answers to this ultimate question.
It really is remarkable. You see these converging streams. Creation, born from divine love, this desire for self-manifestation, this outpouring of infinite mercy, and creation as the place where humanity can reach its highest potential as knowers, as reflectors, as conscious participants in the divine play.
And each master gives us a different lens.
Right. Bawa grounds us in the soul's direct link to God, achieved through wisdom and compassionate action. Ibn Arabi paints this vast, majestic, metaphysical canvas of oneness, expressing itself through the names, with humanity as the ultimate mirror. And Rumi sings the passionate love song of the soul, yearning for its beloved, finding union through self-knowing and the fire of Ishq.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what does this leave you, the listener, with?
Well, I think one thing is that while our minds, our finite intellects, can grapple with these ideas and gain incredible insights, the ultimate answer probably remains, well, an ever-unfolding mystery. It's not a simple formula. It's more like glimpsing this immense fullness of divine reality that invites us into continuous exploration.
And the heart plays a key role in that exploration.
Absolutely. In the Sufi understanding, the heart isn't just the seat of emotion. It's the organ of perception for deeper realities. It's where Bawa's purified wisdom resides. It's the seat of Ibn Arabi's Marifa or Gnosis. It's the crucible for Rumi's transformative Ishq. It's through awakening and purifying the heart that we can start to truly perceive and respond to these echoes of divine purpose.
So maybe a final thought to leave everyone with.
Perhaps it's this. The journey to understand why we were created isn't just an academic question you solve. It's more like a sacred quest that engages your whole being, your mind, your heart, your actions. And maybe, just maybe, the ultimate answer isn't found in a neat sentence, but in the lived, transformative realization of your own true self in relationship with the divine, a state where perhaps the question itself dissolves into the experience of that oneness.
The book discussed can be purchased on Amazon. Link in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for your support.